And I'll tell you what it looks like right now. Let's just go ahead and just
Should
say
I
this.
kill this though first? Or
No,
do
I
we want to
think
keep that
as long as
atmosphere?
I think as long as it's in here, you're going to hear wind chimes and watch cars go behind, and hopefully the garbage truck doesn't go anymore because we're sitting on the front porch of Brookielynn's bungalow.
Yes.
And we are with Brookielynn.
Yes.
AKA Brooklyn.
Yes. But I like that.
But you can call her Brookielynn. If it just happens, she'll still answer.
Yes.
So
So there's a story there as well.
So much
Yes.
history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love it because this really makes me feel like a old school Country Time lemonade commercial.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well,
Just
that's
sitting
so
out,
funny
just chill.
because, Dustin Pascal,
Yeah.
we were sitting here a couple weeks ago or whatever. Brookielynn's Bungalow was my clubhouse when I was 5. And when I quit teaching on April 1st of 2013, my anniversary is coming up, I had zero money to start my business, except I needed a sign and a name. And because all businesses have a sign and a name. So I was like, all right, well, I went in the garage, I dug it out, and it's the sign off my treehouse when I was 5. And Dustin and I used to have lemonade stands all the time.
See?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And
So-
Snoopy snow cone stands. And we also one day during summer vacation, we always were bored to tears. So we would just be bored together. And we took all of the books off all the shelves, off everything. And we carried them out of Dustin's house to my house in my backyard, up the stairs into the tree house. And we said free library. And we took a little rolling TV tray from his grandmother's house up and down the street advertising our free library. And we would write on pieces of paper and staple it to the stop sign or, tape it, whatever. But our parents were pissed.
Yeah, it sounds like a very unattainable business model. It doesn't seem like you guys are going to stay in business for very long.
You were destined to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And they're standing in the way of the great success. Oh, my God.
Free. Everything's free. Lots of labor, hard work, and it's free.
No more late fees. That worked for Blockbuster.
Yeah.
That was their Hail Mary.
But see, that was then. Now, it's a punishment for me to make my kids go outside. Like, if you don't stop, you're going to go outside and play. Stop doing whatever dad says. They're like, wait a minute, you don't want to go. Like, if to punish us as kids, you would not let us go outside.
Right.
Now, if you put children in the elements, unless it's organized sports, anything else, they don't want to do it.
Right.
That's crazy.
We were locked outside on Saturdays, all day. I don't care if you're bleeding from your face.
We just talked about it.
Don't you come in my house and get no water. There's a water hose out there. You have no reason to be in my home until the street lights come on.
Street lights come on, that door goes unlocked.
That's it. And the first thing you do is go upstairs and take a bath so you ain't all itchy at my table, and then you can come eat.
Yeah, no, we didn't take baths. Our fingernails were black, and we had jams. You remember jams?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my God.
Mickey Mouse jams.
I got down. Okay, wow. I'm old. I come from an era where we had play clothes. You had school clothes and you had play clothes.
I think those were, no, I just wore those all the time. I still only wear my play clothes in
Only
case
wear
you
your
haven't
play
noticed.
clothes just in case you did.
But why have a business if you can't create your own office setting in your own dress code?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, otherwise you could just be teaching.
Right.
And that's how it started, right? You were a teacher before everything.
Yes, a teacher before everything. And I remember my husband called one day and he had texted me, and I don't know what we were talking about, but he was just quick text. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to Subway to get a sandwich. And the rage, I was just so mad because my classroom had no windows and my kids were a little iffy that day. And I just thought the freedom that he had to just freaking go to Subway in the middle of the day, I was like, how dare him, make me so jealous. And I remember that being the straw that caused me to go home and write my resignation, because I was like, I could sell poop emojis and make more than what I'm doing now. I don't care what I have to do. This is what I'm going to name it. I've got a sign in my closet or in my garage, and I'm going to sell something. I'm going to do something other than this, and I'm going to go to Subway for lunch in the middle of the day. That was my goal.
Subway. Started all of this. That's crazy.
That is the first time I've heard of a Subway story since Jared.
But when you think
Yeah.
That's two good success stories.
Well, I don't know if that's all of
I think your outcome is a little bit better than
agree.
his.
Yes.
So, would you say that all of us kind of had that moment? I mean, I love that because I think there was. I had an aha moment. Mine was a little bit different, but I know you've probably had an aha moment. Plus influences, because with your family, your dad, and seeing what's going on. And I had to say, I had a mentor in the most oddest place. It was a car stereo shop I was working in, and he just said, "You spent thousands of dollars on car stereo equipment." I said, "Yeah," and I was working there at the time. He says, "And you really like the cream?" I said, "Yeah, I like the finer things, whatever." I mean, literally, every car I've ever had's probably had over $8 to $10 grand worth of car crap in it. And he says, "But have you ever thought about owning the cow?" I was like, "Excuse me? Owning the cow?" He says, "Why don't you, instead of paying for everybody else's cream, why don't you own the thing that provides it for everybody else? You make a lot more money." And I was just like, he handed me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he says, "If you don't quit after reading this book, I will fire you." I read that book in 3 days. I turned in my letter of resignation. I went to school for a degree in photography, and I have not looked back.
That's amazing.
And that was the aha moment.
Yep.
And so it was really cool to hear yours. It was your husband getting a Subway sandwich. And Brandon, I have no clue what this dude is so philosophical. I wouldn't even know.
No, yours, you may expect one thing or the other, but yours are relatively light. They're lightweight. Yours, you had a great boss who said, "Do this and go do your own thing or I'm going to fire you." Yours was Subway sandwich and that realization of something on the lighter side of life. Mine was working at a leadership organization. I had to live in Cabo San Lucas half of the year, which was great for a young 20-somethings.
Yeah.
And when I was down there, we had these leaders that everyone looked up to. And we basically did week-long, super intensive leadership training for college-age students. And one of the speakers were down there, who was also a gentleman that was on the board, this highly sought after. His speeches were scored well. All the kids loved him, this, that, the other. Well, I went to go get in my truck and drive to sessions in the morning. Truck wasn't there. Wonder where my truck's at. This gentleman decided to take my truck, and come to find out it broke wide open that he was having an affair. And it was this whole situation that happened inside. And instead of...
Wait, was he taking your truck so it made it look like you were having the affair?
He was just taking my truck because I let him stay at my place. And the key was on the top. So he didn't come home. And he didn't come back to the place. And I could give him a ride to the sessions, the whole deal. Just gone. And instead of the board in this environment, instead of them going after the problem, which was spread very, very wide through the organization, come to find out, they just told me to be quiet.
Ooh. Yeah, that's...
Okay.
That's called smarmy. Smarmy.
Smarmy. That's exactly what that was. I called it a bunch of other things, but what I called it was my resignation in that moment of, I'm just not going to work for someone else and try to fit into someone else's culture. If I can be mildly successful here, what if we created our own thing? What if we had our own dress code? What if we decided when we're going to work and when we're not going to work, and who we're going to work with and who we aren't going to work with?
Yeah.
Now, do you guys think that YouTube, social media, books, and all that, like I like watching the Today Show when I get up in the morning, getting ready, whatever. Do you think that they paint an unrealistic picture, though, of the whole turning my resignation and everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows? Nobody never talks about the work, the 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the mornings constantly, the constant grind that it does take to be able to wear your own dress code and all that. They just paint a pretty picture, quit, and you're good to go.
What is this? I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think that I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I teach.
There's that garbage truck, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going local right now.
They're back.
They're back.
I think that
Just...
We'll just wait. Okay.
Yeah. I thought I'd take a technical check right now.
I'm pretty.
Is the record button on the camera?
While we're looking, we might as well just figure out if we're recording. We're probably recording.
I pushed that button, but you don't understand me. Yeah.
Have y'all ever had to redo this?
There's been so many countless
Not
things where I
this.
thought- Not
No,
this,
not this.
but other things like, hey, I'm gonna fly 780 miles and I left my No, it was my clothes.
He just did it.
Yeah, I just did it last week when I went to Austin. So remember after I got done recording, I jetted to Austin.
Yes.
I was so nervous about leaving everything that I grabbed everything except for clothing.
But you had some on.
I had some on.
So you had to wear the whole time.
Thank God for Target and Walmart. I was like, man, toothpaste and drawers is all I need, and I'm good to go.
Good to go.
Let's take a step back because
Okay.
we were talking about, do you believe
Rewind.
it's over romanticized, this putting in your resignation letter?
I think that the average person, especially the people that I talk to, they want to quit their teaching job. They want to follow their dreams. They don't really know what that dream is, but they just know they want something more. But the average person isn't ready for the depth of the message on how hard you have to work. And it doesn't matter how much you describe it, it still sounds so romantic because you're doing what you want to do. So all those messages kind of fall flat. The inspiration gets picked up. And I think if you cast a really wide net and you inspire enough people, you'll find a handful that are willing to work hard enough to make that dream a reality. And so you lead with the inspiration. You let them find it's almost like your freshman orientation class. You get 500 kids in a classroom, right? Southwest Texas State University. Hello. You get in there and it's a sink or swim. And there's, a percentage of them, and they're the weed out classes. They weed people out because a lot of them aren't willing or able to manage themselves and get off the river and lay down the booze and actually attend class, So I think it's the same thing. I think that the message needs to be said, and it is, but it gets buried by the inspirational messages because the people that will actually read that and heed that advice are the people that are willing to work hard.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. To me, it's a lot like we all have kids. To me, it's a lot like parenting because you can talk about the love you have for your kids, but none of your single friends are going to understand what it means to unlock that next level of feeling inside of yourself.
Yeah.
And the same way it goes to working for your own dream and your own business.
Right.
That work feels different. Work isn't the same thing, but there's a lot more of it.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose sleep about it. And when you just hear the words, it really doesn't make sense unless you've been sitting there and going, okay, how am I making rent? How am I doing this? How am I running through all of those challenges that you have to solve for yourself.
Yep.
And not just enough emails, enough paper pushing to keep that paycheck coming, but no, we eat what we kill. I don't think you can understand unless you lived it.
No, you can't. And I really think that what you said resonates with all these coaches where you pay all this money to be around them because there's so few people that are willing and capable of doing what it takes to be successful. And in, the interviews I do, the guts to fail, it's not just so much overcoming your fear, but it's starting. And I wrote something in a post like last week. Steve Harvey always says, you got to give God something to work with. You want to ask for blessings, but you got to get him something to work with. Well, I have a Volkswagen bus and it has no power steering. And this is my Brookielynn-ism. So when you are in the driveway and you've got to turn that beast to get out of the driveway and you have no forward momentum, you're not going, you're standing still, it's hard to move, right? So if you just get started, I believe, that God will guide the way. Your blessings will come. You might say, I'm going to go this direction, but as long as you're moving, your course can be corrected more easily. But if you're just a big fat blob just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, paralysis by analysis, and you're not doing anything, then you're not giving anybody, including yourself, anything to work with.
Even worse than being a big fat blob doing nothing, being someone who has a dream to do something that isn't actually doing something about it.
Right.
And that's that element of just go. Just go. And if it doesn't work, you can always go back and find XYZ.
It probably won't work. It won't work out how you have it up here, but it's going to work out somehow. And success isn't always, it's not always that thing, ooh, I'm going to get $1 million or whatever it is. Success can come in a lot of different forms. And sometimes I like the success I get better than the one that I was anticipating, And I can't really think of an example of that right now. But
I think the journey is so cool, though, because when you don't know what tomorrow may bring, then you may plan for it. But when it brings something in, when you get to look back of all the things, when you start collecting stories, experiences, and all that, and you look at where you started to where you are now, then you have it's not even an aha moment. It's just like, wow, look how far we moved here 5 years ago, and it really feels like we just got here yesterday. And so much has happened between now and then, and so much is still going to happen. But you do need a plan, and the biggest thing of the plan for me is execution. Yeah, you can write paper all day long. I can fill up a book. I can fill it whatever. But if you do not one of those items on there and keep moving forward, it's nothing but a dream, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do they say? Goals are just dreams until you actually execute something upon them. And I don't know if people. Now, the one thing about these coaches,
other way around.
Is it the other way around? I don't know if I was saying it right.
Dreams are goals without a deadline.
There you go.
Okay, I knew it was something like that.
There you go. There you
Out
go.
of all those books I read, I knew
what
it
you were
was something. But now that is the one thing that the gurus that people pay all these millions of dollars are really, that's their value. It's just motivation. That's all they are. They're motivating it, and they just put it in a nice little precise program and a nice little plan or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you just get up off your butt and do something, you'd be surprised what you can do, especially if you live. Russell Simmons always says that he lives his life in DEFCON 4. He lives his life in the struggle moment, as in you were happy and you were cushy at your teacher's job, and then they walked in and fired you.
Oh.
What would you do? But he's well off. But if you live and if you push yourself as if you don't know what's around that corner, your success multiplies by 10.
But can you actually sustain life like that?
Well, I think that you can, but I was just talking to Matt about this earlier. You got to build in, and somebody else said this, you got to build in off days, like on my calendar, where you just write a big fat X on it, and you just say, I am not going to do anything today.
Do me a favor.
Yeah?
Turn to him and say that one more time.
You got to build some off days
He
into your calendar.
refuses. No, I am not going to
No,
do
no.
that.
Hold on. Okay, so wait. I watched The Crown. Have you ever seen The Crown on Netflix?
No.
I know what it is. I've never seen it. but
Okay,
I have watched
they're so good. So anyways, the sister, who's kind of hoity-toity and she just kind of tells it like it is, she walks in with a cigarette and she talks to Margaret Thatcher. I think they're on like vacation, and I think Margaret Thatcher.
That sounds right.
Whatever.
Yeah,
So the
that's
prime
it.
minister.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So she was out at this like country cottage, which was a castle, with the royal family, and they were supposed to be like going hunting, but instead she's over at a drawing desk and she's writing, and the sister walks through. She goes, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm working. I don't understand the purpose of all this." She goes, "Well, you might find something better than purpose." And she said it starts with a P, and it's called perspective. And that really resonated with me because I don't see the purpose of sitting still. It doesn't make me comfortable. I feel we're sitting still right now, but I feel like we're moving the needle, I can't sit down if things are, it's not comfortable. But when I leave and go to Jamaica, or when I take that one day and just take my brain off of that, when I come back to it, I see something so much more clearly. I'm better define my goals. I'm better for my business when I do that. I don't always do it, but I keep being reminded of that. And you talking about that, and can you sustain?
Now, is that a gut feeling? Is it a planned thing? Like when you work for corporate America and all those guys, when you got 2 weeks off, 2 vacations, you planned your whole off recharge time, or when you work for yourself, like it was weird for me working with my fellas just to say, my god brother wants to take a trip down to Florida and just chill out because he works for Amazon and he's like a higher up and he goes 1,000 times. But he says, when I take my time, I take my time. Come with. It felt so weird, but asking for time, like, fellas, I'm kind of fried. I want to go take like 4 days off. And I was sitting there like I just asked mom for ice cream when I just had it. And they was just like, yeah, go do that. And you're right. When I got back, I was just like, woosah. But is that something more that you guys feel as self-employed entrepreneurs that now don't take advantage of it, but is it a set time, or is it just when you feel it's overwhelming, do you say, I got to click the switch off and I need to reset? Can you do that at any time without guilt?
Boy, I don't have a good answer to that. I'm going to volley that right over to you.
Yeah, there's never no guilt. When you're juggling, right? You just can't drop the same ball all the time. So it can't always be the family ball. It can't always be not going to the grocery store. It can't always be that you didn't do the laundry. You've got to, you're juggling all the hats. There is no balance. You just can't drop the same ball over and over again. That's how you create the balance. But if I'm working, I'm thinking about my kids. Oh my gosh, last night I had bingo. I wasn't home with them. And then I'm over here now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be at home because the mower is going to come for the first time. So you're always constantly thinking about something over here in your peripheral while you're working on this.
Yes.
And I often, and this is why this keeps coming up, I have to hit a wall before I turn the switch off. I have to be like, the world is caving in. Oh my gosh, what have I done? In order to just turn off. But if I'm intentional with that time, then it never gets to that point. It's kind of like my stomach growling right now. I'm starving, but I haven't eaten all day. I forgot, right? I was too busy doing other things. So you got to,
Yeah, I mean,
No, I completely agree.
yeah.
And I want to build off of that because it's very important in the mindset of an entrepreneur is you have to be able to have that element of responsibility. This is the non-glamorous side of having your own business. You have to feel bad about not working to support the people you're with. And you also need to surround yourself with people where they're telling you, and I appreciate it, I never tell you that, but I appreciate it. You're always telling me, stop. To me, that tells me I'm doing the right thing because I'm not going to stop if my team doesn't see that I need to stop. And you have to surround yourself with the people to go, hey, take a minute. You're not right now. I need you to get right. And finding that balance of, thankfully, I'm blessed to have an incredible wife. I outkick my coverage, but she'll tell me, hey, family needs you right now.
yeah.
And I can say, oh, you're right. And I didn't think about it until you said that. Don't drop the same ball twice.
Yeah.
At least not twice in a row.
Right.
Pick it up. And that's a good way to balance because you can't keep them all floating.
And see, when you lead to add to what you said about the crown and what he's saying too, heavy is the head that wears the crown, because being that he is in a leadership role in many facets, it's just not go local. We have another business. He has family, and he's also the horse whisperer. He's the only man I've ever met that never gets angry, but everybody else around him blows all the way up. He walks in the room and just says, peace be still, and everybody just chills out and just like, okay, whatever Brandon said. But he can just bring anxiety down. So I'm like, there's got to be a point where you're drawing in all this. You're always the whacking, the whipping post or whatever. When we don't want you to blow up. The most sane one in the room, we need to keep you sane. Now, when he does unplug, I will give him credit. He disappears off the face of the earth. Gone. Like out of there.
I'm gone.
Gone.
I'm gone.
I have a pre-filled missing persons report on my computer already ready.
On day 5.
On day 5, he says I'll be back on day 4. If he's not back on 5, I'm looking for him. But that's the way you're supposed to do. So I've also learned to do that, but it's hard. If I take a day off, then I'm going to go clean my house. Then I'm going to go do this. So I'm going to go do that. So like going from taking the leap of faith to being an entrepreneur to knowing how to unplug from it a little bit to keep your balance. I like the word balance, not sanity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd still look at that is part of the fun of not being in robotic corporate America or working for someone. That is a part of the process and what makes life interesting when you do run your own.
And this is the absolute opposite of corporate America. We are sitting on a Thursday afternoon,
3:00.
3:00 on a porch, only missing a cigar and a glass of whiskey.
Tequila.
But tequila, I'm with you. Okay, I got you. This is the opposite. And where we live, in the world we live, it is propped up by corporate entities that allow people to dream and do side businesses. But this is the exact opposite. How do you run a truly, by the way it looks, feels, operates local business in a corporate world with an offering that just doesn't exist anywhere else as far as I'm concerned?
One word, relationships. Everything is based on relationships. And I would take it back to even reality, because I'm constantly with the Bungalow specifically, and go local. I'm really glad that you brought this up. when I got this house, it was almost like a challenge because my husband had it listed and he's like, hey, there's lots of women calling. They're going to get that house. And I'm like, well, I'm taking it. And so I got it and I was like, this is going to be a craft retreat house. People are going to sleep here and they're going to do scrapbooking. And I don't even do scrapbooking, but I've heard of it. I was like, I'm going to capture that audience. Well, then insurance, and they're like, what are they? So you're not even going to be there. There's going to be a bunch of people doing what? And I was like, let me rethink this. So what ended up happening was a bunch of people it was raining, and photographers like, hey, that room that you made for your YouTube, can we take pictures in there? And so being in touch with the reality of the situation, this is a square peg in a round hole. This is what people are asking for, and being flexible and listening to these people and what they're asking for, and just keep moving in the direction of what people are wanting, and just being in reality and not, well, this is what I wanted this to be. You have to be flexible and let it evolve. And so I'm evolving with my community and what it needs. And I'm being flexible enough to know that I don't have all the answers, and my plan is not always what comes to pass, but I have this space. How can I use my community building to build community? And that's what I've done. And so through bingo nights, which started out here, which is now over there and twice a month and all this stuff, I've had businesses that I support through the prize sponsorships that keep sponsoring, and then they get so many clients and they come to bingo every time, and we've built these relationships. Now I'm going to Jamaica with one became my next door neighbor and bought the house. Now my hairdresser is in the kitchen, my esthetician is upstairs, and it's just grown into, this is everyone's house. I don't come in here and act like it's mine. I say, hey, toss your keys on the counter, yell at Alexa and tell her to play some music, go to town doing whatever it is you do. Here's your code. It's everyone's home away from home. And I really just base it on building relationships within the community and treating everyone like they're the most important person. And there's nothing else going on right now except for what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And what would you recommend to, let's say, not a 9-to-5er, but a 5-to-9er, a 5-to-9er, looking to build those community relationships and the relationships that will sustain your business? What did you do? What would you recommend they do in order to do that?
Well, one of the things that I always go back to that really helped my business the most was something that I did for free, and it was very consistent. I listened to what everybody was needing, and let me go back a little bit. So I started out in the Frisco Mercantile at a little 5x10 booth, and I was going to paint furniture. That was going to be my big thing, right? Well, I thought I needed a wholesale paint to sell and to use on my furniture to make it less expensive, right? To lower my margins and give me something else to sell, because I couldn't crank out that much furniture because there's only 2 arms, right? Mm-hmm. And it's summer in Texas and it's hot. Mm-hmm. So long story short, they said, oh no, we've got so much paint drama here. So what ended up happening is I printed out a blank Google Calendar, and I went around to the 12 booths in the Frisco Mercantile, 385 booths. And I said, hi, I'm demoing on behalf of the Frisco Mercantile, and I will demonstrate your paint on a piece of furniture for 4 hours every Friday, 12 to 4. And I will tell everyone how to use your paint. Here's all of my work. This is what I know. I've been a teacher for 11 years. I have a master's degree, and I'll dress nice and I'll stand in your booth and I'll sell your paint, but I need a can of your paint in order to do it. Whatever you want me to push, I'll do. So I'd sell $400 or $500 worth of paint. Now, I called it little clogged arteries, right? Because each booth that I was in, whatever row I was in, women would just collect all around me to watch me doing this. Watch me, what do you do next? Well, what do you do with this? And, what do you use? And so I would just sell all this paint. But what I did was I would market it as demo day, demonstration day, but I'd call it demo day. And I would take a picture of the paint. I would tag that business. I would get visible. So even though I was uplifting another business, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I learned that very early on. And when you give, and give some more, and you are a servant-driven leader, then other people like people that are nice and that uplift others and aren't so like, toot toot, look at me, you know? And so what happened was I became the paint Switzerland of the Frisco Mercantile. So when people would call Frisco Mercantile and say, hey, do you carry a paint line? And the poor girl at the front that was the manager was like, oh my gosh, which one do I recommend now? Because I have to be equal. She would say, oh yeah, you should just call Brooklyn Calloway. And so I got every paint order for the Frisco Mercantile because they would say, well, I need this color. Well, these two brands carry that color, but your piece really is a more difficult piece, so you're going to need the coverage of this brand. So that's on aisle 4. And I could whittle it down. I was like, Google for the paint at Frisco Mercantile, and I got thousands of followers in my first year just serving.
But the importance is you became a thought leader based on your experience.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
knew what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And everyone knew to trust your word, because even though you helped other people better their business, at the end, everyone wins.
Yeah, and I was not loyal to any one brand. It was like if you work for Coke, you can't drink Dr. Pepper. So in a way, I liked that because then whatever I was doing, whatever I wanted to create, I had all the palettes because I knew which brand was coming up on my schedule. I'm like, ooh, I'll save this piece for that. And then I'd literally refinish a piece of furniture for 4 hours in front of an audience, get a bunch of followers, make a bunch of friends, you know, scratch the back of another entrepreneur, uplift her, make her some sales. And I drug that furniture right over to my booth, stuck a price tag on it. And I was banking. I was making money, you know, even though I was giving it away for free. People don't realize that they're so like, what do I sell? And I need to sell. But really, that's you need to earn the right to sell. And the selling comes when you make a relationship and you have friends that want to support you. And if you don't give them a way to support you, that's rude. Like a lot of people are allergic to money, and that's one thing I teach all the time. You've got to give them some way to support you. And if you are making friends, they want to uplift you and support you and make you successful.
The one thing you did, though, is what I've been learning and teaching. You brought value to those paint providers. And when you bring, they say the secret to success, getting rich, whatever you want to do, is just you provide and give value.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And once you do that just unapologetically, it came right back.
Yep.
You just found out how you gave and it gave back, but you weren't expecting, or it had to happen. You just went on one mission and the other one fulfilled itself.
Ooh, yes. The success was, I thought, I'm going to get free paint. Screw putting $3,500 into a paint line and having it take up half my booth. I'm going to get free paint.
That's what your
I
thought
thought
process
$34 can of paint was going to be my success. No, I mean, that was the launching point to where that without that, I wouldn't have learned that hard lesson that I didn't even know I was going to learn. I didn't even know I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted some free effing paint, you know. That's all I needed.
That's this journey that you were talking about. You were just thinking a $34 can of paint, and look what it turned into.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the step, if you don't take the leap, if you don't try, make some effort, you'll never know what your $34 can of paint will lead to.
Right. And a little white lie, because I was not the, demonstrator for the Frisco Mercantile, but I was gonna be. They just didn't know it yet. I was willing it to happen. I was speaking it into the truth.
The secret, ladies and gentlemen, right here live. This is the for real.
You just lie.
But then also provide value as well.
Yeah. I was backing it up. I wasn't
Disclaimer.
Yes.
No, but legitimately, and that creates your brand. That creates what you were doing from the beginning. You were the demonstrator. Who else was walking around? And identifying, you may stumble into a niche. Mm-hmm. You may stumble into something where all of a sudden now you have the blood clot area where people are sitting there watching you do something live, taking time out of their day. And it's most interesting to me because time is the only thing you can't buy back.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And to understand, were you in a position where you said, okay, I am going to do this for 4 hours and this is going to be my investment to the day? Were you going to do it anyways? Or were you able to risk that time? Or where was your mindset as far as I'm going to spend 4 hours refinishing furniture, and hopefully I get $34 worth of free paint out of it.
Well, a long time ago, I heard someone say that you have to theme your days to get organized. And I don't know about y'all, but when I quit teaching, the transition was not what I thought it would be. I thought I'd have all this time, meal planned. The freaking refrigerator would look like Martha Stewart was there. I would look beautiful. The beds would be made. I did not know how to manage myself. I was like, what is this? So to go back to that, I themed my days. And so right now my theme is Monday is admin day. Tuesday is walkthrough day at the Bungalow. Wednesday is filming day, which we're a little off right now.
Just stamp this as a Wednesday.
Thursday is project day, and Friday is I deserve it day. And so if I'm going to get my nails done or go get my hair done or go to lunch with a girlfriend, I plan all of that on Fridays. I do all of my walkthroughs on Tuesdays. I do all of my projects on Thursdays. I do all my filming on Wednesdays. So catch me on a Wednesday, I've had a shower. That's a good thing. So I'm just, I theme my, and so back then, Fridays was my day to paint furniture. And so I could paint that alone and go buy my own paint and sit in my garage, or I could paint it at the Frisco Mercantile and provide a service and meet people and get free paint. So I think that people often, don't see the connections. They don't think bigger. They don't see opportunities. You have to create some opportunities sometimes.
And I agree with that. And I think the real thing is they don't know how to find it. They don't know how to look. They don't see the opportunity, but they don't know how to find it and how to go, where is an opportunity?
Yeah.
And because I think we're told opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
But you can only turn the wheel of that
You have
Volkswagen.
no control over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to be moving.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to go around and see the opportunity. Right.
Right. And you wouldn't have known that there was an opportunity I can spend $3,400 and have paint, or maybe I could do it this way, but it was because you were moving.
I spent my time and my effort, instead of money on paint that would sit there. I spent time painting and I sat there, There's a difference. And a lot of people, like we go back to that, aren't willing to do the work. But also, and I have this question for y'all. I know this is y'all's podcast and you're asking me questions, but I had a couple of very pivotal moments in my life that were catalysts to, really propel me to who I am and how I behave in daily life. Was there ever something that was said to you, like a bad thing, that actually challenged you to become better? Like that propelled you?
In our own business?
No, let me give you, in life. Like, so I got pregnant in college with my son, and I had to go home and tell my Cajun mother that I was pregnant and due in July. That was, there was like this frog in my throat and I couldn't tell her. But when I finally did, she said, well, you better get used to saying, would you like fries with that? Because that's all you're ever going to be. That's what she told me. And I thought she was going to kill me, but instead she did that, which was even worse. But that challenged me to say, to be more and to prove her wrong. But somewhere along the way, I started proving myself wrong and challenged myself. Have y'all ever been told something difficult like that or encountered difficulty that, because y'all are both so driven, it makes me wonder if everybody else has gone through something like that.
I think we've all stepped on a ton of landmines that were standing there. And I think we've had negative externalities that have made us decide, okay, I'm not going to work with this guy anymore. He doesn't deserve the time. I think I'm very, very fortunate and very blessed to be on the other side of that, where I'm surrounded by excellence. I'm surrounded by people who are better than I am.
Right.
And I also played some sort of competitive football for 14 years. So I'm not going to lose. I cannot lose. And I went through just very uncomfortable times. So I'm good with being uncomfortable. For me, being dealt a very blessed hand to be able to come from a very modest beginning. And I thought steak was hamburger in a George Foreman grill until I was about 12 years old.
Hey, that counts.
And just with some ketchup, we called them hamburger steaks. I didn't realize that wasn't a steak. But we were able to do that. I was able to watch by example of just put it in and grind, and to see where that goes. And so I'm on the opposite side. As Biz was saying, I try to be level-headed. So if someone fires something to me, I don't have time for you. I'm not going to let that affect my day. And I'm just not only done with what you're saying, I'm done with you, period.
Yes.
If you're not adding value to my life, I have too many people in my life, too important to give you the time. So I don't really have that moment aside from somebody telling me to be quiet and, let them use your truck whenever you want to. For me, I'm ultra blessed, and it is my responsibility to be the best person that I can possibly be.
Steward those blessings and steward who you've become.
I think that's I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're supposed to steward things and be a good steward of what we have, and when we are, we get more. And so I don't like to ask for wisdom because something comes out of left field. I'm like, oh God, why did I need to learn that? But whatever.
No, it's.
I like that.
Yeah, it's different because I'm in this. I suppose the key term right now is I have privilege, and they're exactly right. I'm privileged. I have a family that's together, that's strong. I'm surrounded by incredible people that make me the best person I can be. But what am I going to do with it?
Right.
What am I going to do? Am I going to give it away, or am I going to do the best to play the hand that I was dealt? And whether someone's dealt with a worse hand or a better hand than I am, it doesn't matter because they're my cards. Mm-hmm. And I play the hand, and I play to win. And I cannot let negativity or whatever that is bring me and alter my decision making. You can control two things: your attitude and your actions. That's it.
Right.
So that's my mindset from it. Biz, what do you think on that side?
I think negativity and others' influence and opinion is probably one of the hardest things for me personally to fight. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not even just maybe in the last couple of years, I really stopped caring what people think. That took a lot because I always wanted to be accepted. And then when you really start realizing, my moment is my grandmother. I was raised pretty much by my grandmother. Stay with moms on the weekends, whatever, stepfather and all that stuff. But she used to always say, I had a bunch of friends that, when they come over and play, my grandmother had a yard the size of a football field, literally, and she had a fence around it. So we would play football inside the yard. And there were certain kids she wouldn't let in. She's like, you cool, you? Nope. I'm like, why can't they come in? He's going to be in jail. He's going to be dead. I don't know what's up with him, and I don't know what church him and his mama go to, so they can't come in. I was like, okay. But when I got older, she always told me to learn how to play by myself. I didn't always need those friends to be around because you'll never be self-sufficient if you always have to have somebody up under you. Learn how to play by yourself. So on her deathbed, she had talked to my wife, sent me out of the room. We were in the hospital, and she told something to my wife. My wife came out, tears, crying, or whatever. I said, yo, what did Grandma say? She says, I can't tell you right now. My grandmother passed away that night. At her funeral, my grandmother told my wife to tell me that be the best man that you can be, that I've taught you how to be, and to make sure that you live your life the way that you know how to live it. Learn how to play by yourself, but take care of everything around you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm
a bawling mess right now.
Oh man, I bring that up.
Hairs are burning and everything.
that like when she said that, it affected me to the point to where I look at a lot of my friends and people, and I don't say I'm above them, but I see them doing the same thing. And as you elevate, so you just want more. Now the only counter to that is that I'm so possessed with trying to get more. Where's that success? Because I find myself trying to live up to anything she has said. I mean, literally, my whole life I lived to her standard and what she wanted me to be. Mm-hmm. So it just gave you the brain thought of that was the thing that made me go click. Mm-hmm. She raised me to be a certain way. I'm raising my sons to do the same thing. But if you don't learn, but at the end of the day, she used to always tell me too, sometimes I'd ask her stupid stuff. She'd say, hey, just act like I ain't even here. What would you do? I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out for myself. So that statement is the thing that changed everything inside me. And I have to constantly, even me saying it out loud right here, right now, makes a couple things that I did this week or I need to do, like, oh yeah, I remember what grandma said. I have to kick that back in.
Right.
So just when one statement can constantly keep you on track or give you some guidance, that was the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing ever. But I will say with this episode that we've had today, this actually, Brookie, I did not know. Man, you get down. like on the entrepreneur, like you are literally like, I just felt like I just read 7 audiobooks.
Oh.
Sitting here for 45 minutes.
And the part that I like is just a Cliff Note version, the good stuff. That's what you're just peppering in there. Enough that I can.
So as we wrap it up real quick, because now this has me really, really, really interested. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what it's about. Because that's like, if it's this, yeah, I'm all in.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was actually walking and talking. I like to shrink my body and increase my brain. So I listen to podcasts myself when I'm walking. And someone in passing in a podcast said, you just kind of you have to have the guts to fail. I was like, man, that's going to be the name of my podcast. Well, it is a StreamYard, like live streaming, and then you download the audio and you put it over here. And I haven't quite figured that part out, but I keep streaming. And so we have about 24 episodes up on YouTube and in my Facebook group. And it's all about me finding entrepreneurs that, what we talked about earlier, how you have to cast a wide net, and those few that are like willing and able and capable of working hard and doing what it takes to be successful. And those people are who I interview, and I ask them about their journey and when they had the guts to fail and some of their failures and how they turn those into, triumphs. And I really wanted to show, like you were saying, sort of, I guess that is the podcast, the hard part, and how it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but every single one ends in the success story. So it is the hard part, but it's the inspiration of, I quit my job and then I did this, and it's really neat. So it's all about having the guts to fail.
I love it. So where can they watch that?
YouTube, Brookielynn's Bungalow YouTube channel, or you can join my free Facebook group. It's Bungalow U, just the letter U, and it's just an entrepreneurial Facebook group where I give tips and tricks on social media marketing. I was a middle school teacher for 11 years, so everything is in middle school terms that anyone can understand. If I can figure it out and write it down, I just teach it in terms that I know. I don't know what the technical terms are, but people seem to resonate with it, and it helps.
And to learn more about your business, where do they go?
BrookieLynnsBungalow.com.
Do it. Do it now.